G'day, AJ Mahar here. So I had somebody on the channel leaving comments, I think furiously, literally and otherwise, like quickly and often, talking about codependency as if when I talk about it, or maybe they think when anybody talks about it, but I think they were here to tell me when I talk about it, something in my videos or podcasts, etc., is blaming people. Because there was a comment this person left, like I said, they left several all over different videos, saying the same uneducated thing, which was that she said 2 minutes into this video, he or she said, 2 minutes into this video, and you're blaming codependents for what borderlines or narcissists do or something like that. And then they said, I call BS. 2 minutes into a video, that video, I actually don't remember the name of it, but I would go on in the video to make it clear how codependency doesn't make what the cluster B does your fault at all. So I'm here to just straighten the record again. I think most people hear me, but some people just don't. When I talk, and then the other comment they left, and there were several, but I just remember a couple. The other one was, most therapists don't want to talk about codependency because it's blaming the person who's really hurt and then some by a borderline or a narcissist in a significant other relationship or any relationship type. Well, a lot of mental health professionals don't want to talk about codependency because they are so ensconced in and overtaken totally by the DSM-5, I guess with a TR now, but they're totally overtaken by that stuff to the point where, like, and codependency isn't in that book, that Bible of American psychiatric, often claptrap, and pathologizing of humanity. It doesn't help anybody understand much better, you know, like, that's my view anyway. I mean, I guess it has its purpose to a point, but beyond that, no. And the labels and the pathologizing continually of people, etc. Well, here's the thing. Very simple. Codependency is a mental health challenge too. Codependency has its roots in childhood, adverse experience or worse. And codependency, as I've even said in my Codependency Inside Out podcast, I've said in other videos, is not a blame or shame word. What codependency is and means is not people's fault because it happens in childhood. Unmet needs, adverse experience, and worse is what causes codependency in people's lives. Not everybody that has codependency has all of what that can mean. Some people have it, you know, as I've said before, really, moderately. Some people have it significantly, some people have it very severely, and that gets into a whole different realm. But the point is, I have never said, nor would I ever say, that if somebody is codependent, that they are in any way responsible whatsoever for what a borderline or a narcissist does, or how they've hurt them, how they've treated them, how the relationships rupture, the ghosting, the discarding, etc. No, that is the responsibility, though they can't take it untreated with BPD or narcissists in general. That is their responsibility. How they behave, what they act, how they act, what they say, what they do. That's always the responsibility of the cluster Bs, though they don't usually know that or take responsibility for that. But that doesn't matter, because people with codependency getting really hurt by, it could be a parent with BPD or NPD, and or a significant other. So, or a different relationship type. So when I'm talking about codependency, I only speak for myself. It's not about blame at all. And I'm just in the middle of a work day, and I was just working with a client where I was underscoring this for the client, that wanted them to rest assured that what I was telling them about it not being their fault, why they got discarded by someone, that I wasn't just saying that because it would be what they wanted to hear. Because if you watch this channel and you watch more than 2 minutes in a certain video, turn it off and call it BS. How intelligent is that? Anyway, if you watch these videos I put up here, whichever ones you find, because my message is consistent, and I am not ever blaming people with codependency for what's happened to them, not in childhood and not from any cluster B. What I have said is that people with codependency need to, in significant other or other types of relationships, sometimes even if it's a parent, people with codependency have a responsibility to get into their own healing recovery process, to work to heal, to go no contact often if it's been a significant other relationship, or in many other relationship types, low contact to no contact may be the only way forward to healing. So please know. And I'm just reasserting this here because some people gonna come along and say what's in their head, not what they're hearing me say, or they're not even listening in the first place, as to the one comment about 2 minutes into this video. Well, they didn't listen to the rest of it. So however I was prefacing in the first 2 minutes, whatever I was laying out that I was going to talk about, apparently they didn't hear the rest. So I just want to clarify that people with BPD, and even most with NPD, they're all different, but like, if they're not malignant, there are a lot of people who have narcissistic traits. Not everybody, okay? It's not like everybody has borderline traits, everybody has narcissistic traits. No. But the thing is, because those are only human traits pathologized anyways, but there's a difference. But the bottom line is, I don't even think that a lot of narcissists are doing what all the channels say they're doing on purpose, consciously. Maybe many of them are, but they're not all the same. And so there's a spectrum within the diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, as there is within BPD, to where some people are not as severely affected as others. And so then there's, the covert, fragile, vulnerable type narcissist, which is not a diagnosis, but there's all these different individuals with all this going on. And the other thing I've always said, and will underscore here again, is that whatever they are doing that is hurtful, that they're not taking personal responsibility for, their inability to communicate, or their just desire not to, they're running from their own adverse experience, but their behavior in any way that they treat you awful and horribly and just beyond belief and use you and manipulate you and gaslight you, that's not okay. Never okay, and never your fault if you have codependency. So I think in a lot of areas, other mental health professionals are saying things about codependency that isn't helpful, not all, but many, because they don't have anything in their DSM that they pay too much attention to, many of them, that codependency isn't in there. So what are they going to do with it? Many will adapt and understand it. Many haven't and never will. And where's codependency going to go in terms of, being further delineated or whatever? I don't know. But as it stands now, just know that even when you've just been ghosted or discarded by a borderline or a narcissist, and you probably have codependency, because codependency is really rampant in our society, in Western society and in culture, and there's just a lot of other reasons, and there just aren't that many healthy families out there anymore raising children. There are some, but it's the lesser percentage of all, right? So this intergenerational, really, bad experiences and feeling bad about oneself and having codependency, that's nobody's fault either. That happens to people when they're a child, okay? And people with codependency need to learn how to pay attention to themselves and help themselves out. I've never said anything anywhere to suggest that people with codependency are to blame for how somebody else treats them horribly. No, not at all. So, if you're going to watch a channel, you can do whatever you want. But just know, I'm doing this video just because I think it's a good point to bring up again, to make more clear perhaps. But I generally won't respond to those type of comments because they're people that aren't listening. And they're people that are trying to bring to what I'm saying, what everybody else is saying, or mental health professionals say. which doesn't matter to me because I'm here to do what I do, and I help clients the way that I help clients, and I'm not saying anything incorrect in terms of what codependency is or the fact that people with codependency are not to blame. So if you've just been ghosted or discarded, the relationship's just ruptured, hey, Toby, sorry, the puppy, still a puppy, or the relationship's just ruptured, it's not your fault. And I want to make that abjectly, incredibly clear. Take care.